Good morning and welcome to another video. I'm out with my Mamiya C330 again. Got a new lens to try out this morning. It's got my 55mm. So I've now got a 55 and an 80mm. So I'm over near a place called Newton Abbot, just on the outskirts, and this nice little chapel here, which I'll spin you around and show you in a minute. I've shot here before in infrared, but this morning I'm going to be shooting black and white on the Mamiya. Got some Ilford Delta again, one of my favourite films. I'm going to try out this new lens and see what I can get. So this is my first composition. I've got this cross in the foreground leading up to the chapel in the background, and you can see how bright the sky is. So I'm going to need to use a graduate filter for this shot. So yeah, this morning I'm going to be shooting at this little chapel here, and then I'm also going to move a few minutes up the road, and there's a lovely oak tree in a field which I'm going to try and shoot as well. Now this morning I'm going to try and go through filtration with this camera. It's not as straightforward as I'd like, but it is possible to use a filter system on this, which I'll go through. Now before I go into detail, you'll notice straight away that this looks like a bit of a Frankenstein affair with this filter holder on. It is possible to use filters, as you can see, and I'll go into more detail in a bit. And there's a couple of things. I'm using a grad at the moment for this shot. I'm trying to get this shot before the light comes up over the top of this tree and kind of bleeds everything out. So I've managed to get a grad on. The only thing is, with using grads, I've got a shutter release button on the bottom here where my cable release goes, and I've also got a shutter button on the side here. I can't use that bottom one with the cable release because the grad filter gets in the way. So that's one of the issues with filtration on this camera. But because it's on a tripod, I'm able to use this side shutter release. I'm down, my shutter speed at the moment is between sort of 1/8 of a second and 1/30 of a second. Now I wouldn't hand hold that, although this camera is pretty good because the shutter's in the lens, so it doesn't actually make much of a clunk when you take a picture. But I prefer to do it on a tripod, to be honest, at those sort of shutter speeds. So just tripping the shutter with this one, it's nice and steady. I keep my hands sort of as free as I can, and it doesn't affect the image then.
Little when the sun goes down, we could walk this autumn town, find a place to be alone, look into your eyes.
I've got a nice composition here. The 50mm lens is quite a bit wider than my 80mm, so I'm able to get a nice shot here with these trees framing. I've got an overhang of trees at the top here, and then a tree off to the left hand side, and then a pathway leading up through to the little chapel, so it's kind of framed within a frame. So yeah, it's quite nice. Now with this lens I'm not getting that much parallax error, if at all, so I've basically tilted the camera up. Now from my last video, which I'll link to, I did talk about parallax error briefly. Now you can get a thing called a paramender, I think they're called, which basically goes between the tripod and the camera, and as you shoot you basically wind this thing up and it corrects that parallax error. But with a wide lens like this, it's not really worth bothering about, to be honest. If you've got like a tight frame with things creeping in, it might be worth it, but mostly I would have thought it's fine without it. Right, so the sun's nice. This shot I'm just going to use a polarizer, I think. Shame I haven't got any nice puffy clouds up in the sky, but yeah, I'll take some meter readings. I'm a meter off the grass just past the tree. shooting at f16, so it's giving me 15th of a second. Right, now I'm going to put my filters on. Okay, let's talk a little bit about filtration. So, this is a TLR camera, twin lens reflex camera. Now, the issue is with filters is you're viewing the picture and composing the picture, focusing the picture through the top lens, which is literally a viewing lens. The actual taking lens is at the bottom. So, this is the way I've concocted to actually use filters. Now, I've got a few different parts to this. I've got a step-up ring, which is basically I've got this 55mm lens and my 80mm lens are 46mm diameter, thread diameter. So I've got a step-up ring from 46 to 72. So basically I put this on the top lens. So I then put my case magnetic filter ring on there, and then my holder. So clip my holder on there. Now I tend to use a variety of filters. I use polarizers, ND filters. For black and white I'm using red filters and sometimes an orange filter. And then I use graduate filters. Now for red filters and ND filters, it's literally just a case of popping the filter in. If I'm using grads, obviously I'll need to place, and a polarizer, I'll need to place the filters in the top, look through the lens, get my filters in place, polarizer, polarized. Then I basically swap the whole thing, so take the holder off and then place it on the bottom lens, which is the taking lens. Now, if I'm using a grad filter, it's already in place where I need it in the filter, so just basically pop it back on there. Then when you look through, you're basically seeing the top part of the filter holder. Obviously that's not going to come into the image. And then you basically take the picture. So that's the way I'm doing it. For polarizing filters, basically this is a magnetic polarizing ring. So what I'll do is I'll do it by eye with the polarizer and then just put the polarizer on. So really it's only grads that cause the problem. Like I say, if you're using ND filters, you can literally just place them in front of the lens, obviously compensate for the exposure, and away you go. So for this shot I'm using a polarizer only. So I don't need my holder for this shot. So let's meter again. F16, 30th of a second, 2 stops for the polarizer. So 30th, 15th, that's 8th of a second. Now I can use my cable release for this because I've not got the grads in the way. It's only when I'm using graduate filters that it blocks out the use of this. So I'm going to shift you out the way and take the frame.
Turning out the light again while I wrestle what's within, looking out for a friend. What's the one rule we forgot? Say the story or the plot, something new is overdue. What happens next?
Alright, so I'm going to change my lens now. I've spotted a nice little shot here which I'm going to shoot with the 80mm. So I'm going to change lenses. So basically what I do is I put this little dial here on the side to unlock. That literally flips a screen up in front of the film plane basically. So pop that bar out, I can then release the lens. There's a little black shutter then inside. I put my 80mm lens on. Push that bar back down and then unlock, or lock it says on the side. So then I'm ready to go then.
What happens next? What happens next? What happens next?
Right, okay, I'm going to take a short little drive at the road and go down to this oak tree that I mentioned earlier. It's some nice clouds building up, so I'm hoping, by the looks of it, it's down over that way, so I'm hoping I'll get some nice clouds above the tree. That's the plan. So I'm going to pack this away temporarily. Got another 3 frames left on this roll. So this is my oak tree that I'm going to shoot straight on 80mm lens. Nice tight crop on it as well. 2 reasons for that. One, because I like that kind of tight crop on trees like this. But also, if you look off to the left hand side over there, there's buildings and that's not very attractive. So my square crop on this will be nice. Nice bit of cloud above, just waiting for some light now. So I've got my composition set up. Light's just starting to stream through now and it's lighting the tree up, which is lovely. So I think filtration wise I might just use a red filter on this, nothing else. No polarizer because the sun's pretty much behind me. Don't really need a grad. And it's yeah, just a nice red filter and boost up that contrast a bit. So I know a lot of you might think of this as a bit of a faff, and yes, you're right, it is a bit of a faff, but this is a slow camera and this is film photography. It's part of the course. So there are obviously screw-in filters you can get for these. If, for instance, this is a 46mm thread, so you could get a red. You can have like loads of filters to screw in and fart about with. So this way, I'm able to use my existing system just by upgrading the step rings for each lens. Now, like I said, my 80mm and the 55mm both have 46mm thread, so I've only got to have 1 step ring and then I can use the rest of my system across both lenses then. So for this shot, I'm just going to use a red filter, so I don't need to put it on the viewing lens. I've already composed my shot and focused, so I can put it straight on the bottom lens. So again, put my holder on. There we go. And then just the red filter down. There we go. I'm able to put the filter just at the bottom of the holder, which still covers the lens, and I'm able to use my cable release. So the elusive sun has disappeared again now, but it should be out soon. So I'm all ready, all set. I've got I'm shooting at f11, which is enough to give me focus right through. I've got absolutely 0 parallax error at all here because I'm quite a way back from the tree. Everything's pretty sort of pretty perpendicular with the tree, so it's all good. So yeah, f11, taking a meter reading. I'm going to take another reading in a minute when the light comes out, but to allow for the filter as well, I'm around sort of 1/8 of a second. So we'll see what happens when the sun comes out. I'll meter again. Yeah, the light's out now. That's looking really nice. I'm going to meter straight off the tree now because it's. So it's giving me a 60th of a second base reading. Allow 2 stops. So it brings me down to 15th of a second. So, well, this light's quite fleeting this morning, so I'm going to take the shot. This red filter should boost up the contrast in the tree and in the sky as well, I'm hoping. I'm just going to meter again because it's slightly changed now. Yeah, only very slightly. Just going to slightly underexpose this last one, just to boost the contrast up a bit. Excellent. That's it.
Little when the sun goes down, we could walk this autumn town, find a place to be alone, look into your eyes.
Okay, that was challenging. Yeah, it is a challenge using filters on this camera. I must admit, I'm not gonna beat around the bush. It's a TLR, so you've got this issue with two lenses, viewing lens and taking lens. But you know, demonstrated hopefully that there are ways around it. It is a bit of a faff, but you can use your existing systems. And like I said, I used a case system. You could use coking, you could use any sort of system you want really. The important thing is these step-up rings. So for each lens you get a step-up ring, then you can put your existing system onto it then. If you want to go down the route of screw-on filters, that's fine, but just bear in mind you need quite a few filters, which I think will be a little bit more fiddly. And again, if you come to grads, you know, screwing grads aren't a good idea. It's best to have a system grad that you can move up and down in the holder. So I hope you've gained something from this. I'm going to keep using this camera. I've got some shoots planned coming up over the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned, and hopefully I'll pop those up soon. But thanks for watching this one, and hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll see you on the next one.
Hold on to moments that we've shared. Hold on if all we have is just each other.